Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, and thank you for stopping by again. One of you wrote not too long ago and asked me a really simple question. I'm 75 years old. Am I too old to move? No, you're not too old to move. Let me put it this way. Age is not the factor. It's not what's going to make a good thing or a bad thing, an easy thing or whatever, to move to any other location, whether it's Panama or somewhere else. It's your attitude. It's whether you go in there willing to learn, willing to find new experiences and have a good time and relax a little bit and so forth, but learn some new ways of doing things too. It's attitude that above all separates the people who are happy and who are successful here for a period of years and years, while others who are very unhappy tend to be the ones that are very rigid. They have this very strong attitude about exactly how everything should be done. I would say that some of them are control freaks of a sort. It's a strong word, but I mean in the sense that they feel like everything should go the way they want it to go, and if it doesn't, they're just not going to be happy about it, and they'll tell everybody. They're a small minority. They certainly do exist. It's unfortunate, and Panamanians are, on the whole, quite patient with people like that. They'll just tend to ignore them and go on about their business, but they're not impressed, and neither am I can say, when I've seen some of them act like this. I don't know exactly why some people do what they do, but on the whole, I find that age has no impact whatsoever on that. A friend of mine introduced me to another young man, about 25, I'd say, and he wanted to go out and see the lake out in the east, which particularly interests me. And we were out there, took him out, and showed him around. It's a beautiful place, absolutely beautiful. And he was so critical of it almost immediately. I mean, it just nothing was right. Everything was wrong. He couldn't do anything but complain and complain. And in my head, I thought, you're not going to make it here. If you bring that sort of attitude out, that everything, as he was saying, back home, it's this way, it's that way, we have this, we have that, and so on. If that's your attitude, you're not going to make it. And he didn't. And he went home. And no great loss. We don't miss him. It was somehow sadder to see it happen with somebody of his age group. But in truth, I know that age is not the factor. And I can get somebody who's 85 years old and is just full of spirit and just a completely different attitude toward life. Much easier to get along with and not constantly complaining about one thing or another being different than it was back home. And those people get along just great. So, no. If you're concerned about being too old to move, don't be. What you need to be concerned about is that when you come down, you may have all sorts of frustrations or anger even, or problems or what have you, back at home. Pack them up, stick them off somewhere. Just try to get them as far away from your mind as you can when you come down. And don't focus on them here. If you're with friends from your own culture, your own country, and you talking about your feelings on things, fine. But otherwise, don't carry it over into the rest of society. We don't need them. We have our own challenges here. We have our own problems. We're all trying to make our way through life. So one of the most important things to do is to not be too judgmental when you come down. Now, there are people, when they have a party here, all night long, and it can be really noisy. It doesn't happen in most places very frequently. I mean, some places maybe, but it will happen once in a while, and at 3 o'clock in the morning you can still hear the music. And that can really annoy people, and I understand that. But that's the way it is pretty much in Latin America everywhere. And they have a party is an all-night affair, and they make a big thing out of the whole business. But it's not like it's going to be happening every Friday or Saturday night, for heaven's sakes. And I've certainly been next door to a couple of them, and you just go to bed and ignore it and get on with your life. But anyhow, that's one thing that's aggravates some people. And then people can be slow and people not show up right on time, all the sorts of things we associate with Latin life. But the real truth of the matter is that it's as much traffic as it is anything else these days. There's all sorts of reasons why things happen. And you just sort of relax and just go with it, because we all have these little frustrations every once in a while, but that's part of what makes it interesting. I mean, if you want a carbon copy of the life you've got right now, why come down here? Just stay where you are. If you're going to come down, be open, be ready. The factors that are important to whether you'll be happy or not are all hidden up there in your head. And you'll make it yourself. You will choose to be happy or not. Sometimes it's exactly the way it comes across. Some people come down determined not to be happy. I don't know why, but they do. Others absolutely determined they're going to be happy. Well, the latter approach tends to work a lot better than the first approach. So age, no, put it out of your mind. At least don't obsess on that. And don't consider yourself too old to do anything. But you know yourself physically and mentally, emotionally and whatever. And so those are the issues that you have to concern yourself with. But whether or not, your age is not the issue. Now, people here can be very polite too if you're older. I was talking about that with Ed, the other guy who I talked about earlier, who came down and rented. Helped him find the agent I know here helped him find a place to rent. He's had a wonderful time. He's not here. He can't be here right now, but it's too bad because he just can't say enough good things about people. He speaks maybe 6 or 7 or 8 words of Spanish. I think he's probably increased his vocabulary since he came down a little, but frankly, he doesn't speak very much. And what he speaks is pretty simple. He walks right in and asks people for help and looks around. He always smiles. He's always enthusiastic, and he gets so much assistance. And in part, as I told him, I said, be thankful you have gray hair. It counts for something in Panama. Being older, being a jubilado, as we say in Spanish, a retiree or of that age group, that's a good thing. I mean, they get a lot more attention than someone who's 35 and can't seem to handle things. They're expected to be a little bit more adult, but I mean not adult. That's the wrong way to put it. But they're treated a little bit more seriously. But when you're older, and I have it happen to me, and I love it, is people will frequently be a little extra careful. I mean, they listen more carefully. They try a little bit harder to help you, and so on. So that's actually a benefit. So age can be a good thing to be older. I've had that happen in all my travels, 40, 45 different countries, all the countries I've worked in 5 decades, there are societies where age helps. And in one particular case, I actually grew a beard because I was going over to spend 3 or 4 months. And the beard I had at the time was maybe 1/4 white. I was getting to that stage in life. But there was very little in my head, just on my beard. Beard was plenty of that. So I had this bushy beard with white hairs running on here and there all through it. And it made me look older. And it worked beautifully because I knew the culture I was going to really appreciated older people and thought of them as being authorities and looked up to them with great respect. And I was, I think, about 40 years old at the time. I had staff there. I was there for several months, and I had staff. And one day I just asked them if they could tell me, how old I was. I'd never mentioned it to them. And they guessed 55, and I was 40. And I was delighted because that's exactly what I needed. And it helped me to get serious attention from some people in that society that I wouldn't have gotten had I been 15 or 20 years younger, I can assure you. So old age can be helpful. It's not that powerful here in Panama, but it's still respected. Older people are respected, and I think that's important. And I appreciate it, and just for myself, although obviously that's nice, but just to see the way they deal with each other. And it's probably in part comes from this very strong family culture where you show respect for your parents and your grandparents, for the older people in your family. It's just part of growing up and how you live your life. And it extends to people outside, even strangers. If somebody is older and looks confused and is having problems, someone will come up and ask if they can help. It's that sort of situation, more rapidly perhaps, and more effectively in many cases than might be the case in many other countries in North America and Europe. Now, I don't mean to be criticizing my home country or anything of that sort, but there's a difference, and I like it. I think it's respectful, and I appreciate it. So I don't want to scare off all you young people out there. You'll get respect too, but it isn't bad. It's a good thing to have. So, all right, I hope I've taken care of age. I've got an opportunity coming up here in a couple of days. I think, if all works well, I'll be going out to the edge of town, but it'll still be in the city, and I'll be stopping at one of little stands along the road where they sell fruit. I just know one of them there, and I really like it, and I've always enjoyed visiting it. And I was there just a week or two ago. I should have thought to have taken some pictures. I didn't. Since I will be out, I think, in that neighborhood again, I plan to stop by there, and then I'll take you on a little tour of one of our fruit stands. We have vegetable stands and whatever. You can buy everything from avocados to pineapples. But you got to go out and look for these, even in the country. You have to go out and find where they are. They're there all the time, though. Once you click with one, you find one that works for you, you go back. There are people here who grow the food and bring it in. It's called truck farming in the United States in the old days. They just load up their truck and bring it all into a stand that they've set up. Very friendly people. I've never met an unfriendly person at one of those places. And things are cheaper. So even if you're in the city, you can take advantage of this sort of thing, because supermarkets are supermarkets. They're always going to be more expensive. And the fancier they are, the more expensive they will be. But these vegetable stands and fruit stands are there if you take the time to, not just to find them, but to stop. Many people just ride right past them and think they'll stop some other time. I say, no, stop. Get your nose in there and find out what's going on at that stand, because you might be going back there quite frequently. So I hope to have a little bit more to show you with that coming up here in a few days. And remember, if you like these videos, just subscribe. Click on the little bell beside the subscription button. If you ring the bell, then YouTube supposedly will send you a notification that a new video is up as soon as it's done. In any case, regardless, I'm just happy to have been with you again, and I look forward to the next time.